Always a joy to have Martin Lumpkin on with us, Tutors President. He joins me on the Zoom line. Let me, of course, extend greetings to you and again express a sincere thanks for coming on to give us the latest. We're dealing with results this morning, CSEC and CAPE results 2025. President, great to see you.
Hi, good morning, Mr. Williams. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Once again, thank you for having Tutor on your program.
Always a joy, comrade. Let me ask you, President Lumpkin, how are we looking for the results? What are the numbers saying? What's the results saying? Let's start with the CSEC for the graduating class, Form 5 class of 2025.
Before I get into the details, let me, on behalf of the association, extend congratulations to all the students who wrote the CSEC and CAPE. Extend congratulations to the Ministry of Education because their statistics would have shown an upward trend in the majority of the subject areas and students who got full certificates. As well as I must compliment and congratulate our educators throughout Trinidad and Tobago, inclusive of the administrators, for the work they have been putting in.
Yeah, and you know, President, I'll tell you this, this particular cohort, the 2025 students, very interesting because they were the ones who actually started secondary school in the heights of COVID. They started online. They really started off with it was a challenge when they started in 2020.
Yes, and they must be congratulated for the resilience that they would have shown over the last 5 years, and even the CAPE students as well too. They would have been roughly Form 2 when COVID hit, and they were thrown online as well too. But we remember the students and parents, but we sometimes forget the educators. Some who had to adjust, their learning curve would have been almost parallel, almost horizontal, vertical. But yes, they would have had that challenge of the COVID. When they came into secondary school.
But President, let's get on into the nitty-gritty. Maths and English, you know, that's always what they ask. That's the requirement for any job. How are we looking right now, 2025, probably even compared to years gone by? Let's start there. Maths and English for the CSEC.
So the English language has always shown a high percentage of pass rate. And this year it shows that they have improved as well too. And we say congratulations. Maths, in the mathematics area for CSEC, there was an improvement from 42 roughly percent to 45%. And again, congratulations to all the players, all the stakeholders. But it still shows a worrying trend in terms of the pass rate, because more than half of the student population writing CSEC did not pass the mathematics. And so it's a bit worrying. But
what do you think is needed to be done in that regard? Because math has always been a challenge, even for me when I was going to school, to be quite honest.
Yes, it's one of the subject areas that needs to be focused on and in a hands-on and practical way as well too. Sometimes we just look at it theoretical, and I can give you my personal experience. Only when I went into the training college, Valsain Teachers College in 1993, and I had Miss Simmons as my maths teacher, that she was able to relate the theory and all of those formula to real life. So she spoke about tessellation, which has to do with patterns, and we never looked at it in that way. She was talking about inverting when you're doing fractions. And she used a local term that had us laughing, but made us understand. She said, you know, you capsize. In other words, you turn it over. And so in that area, but I wanted to say as well to Mr. Williams that the preparation for CSEC and CAPE doesn't start alone in the secondary school. It actually starts from ECCE level. And if we want to build that in terms of performance in the lower end or in the back end, we need to put in the resources. Now, ECCE basically is about getting the children inculcated in the culture and socialization and building their gross motor skills. But in the primary school as well too, we need to have more focused and in-depth intervention so that when the students reach into secondary, that basic and that foundation would have been laid.
Yeah.
And we have to make maths more enjoyable as well too, as far as possible. I'm not saying that our teachers are not doing that, but the use of technology and other areas, I think we think can enhance the performance in the mathematics.
And interestingly, went back to the foundation of the early childhood care. Where are we as it pertains to the conversation on Spanish? I think by now there should be that push for us to be bilingual, for us to, at least at the age of 16, 17, be fluent, at least conversational Spanish, so that we could expand our horizon and do business with our neighbors down south. There's so much potential in South America, and many of us can't speak the language. Where are we in that regard, and how did the Spanish results look for 2025?
I wasn't able to get into depth in terms of the languages, but you're correct. We have declared that Spanish is our second language, but the approach to implementing Spanish as a second language has to be carefully looked at. You cannot only depend on the classroom teacher before the students to actually get into. Yes, you want the basics at the ECCE level, you want the basics and you graduate slowly at the primary into the secondary, where they have that subject specialization. But the majority of our educators at the two levels are not equipped to deliver on the Spanish. And there is a factor that we are not looking at. The standard English language, as we call it in Trinidad and Tobago, is actually a second language and should be taught as a second language, because we have our colloquial and the influence of various cultures on our English language. So I can speak about the school I was at, Cedrus, which was predominantly Hindus and predominantly East Indians. And you can appreciate that the settlers there from India so will pass down their oral language, which will influence on the children growing up. And they have a different syntax and grammar, etc., etc. And we have to be aware of that. So even when we are teaching the standard English language, Her Majesty's language, as some people say, it has to be taught as a second language. And so if we are going into Spanish, we have to be teaching that as a second language. And there are certain procedures that you utilize in doing that as well.
Interesting perspective.
And if I don't practice it, well.
Interesting perspective. I want to move to Cape. I'm seeing some interesting results here, and I was reliably informed that agricultural science, food and nutrition, geography, and more so performing arts recorded 100% pass rate. As a matter of fact, they've seen this upward trend with the performing arts in Cape. Is this the case?
Yes. And I was interested to look at physical education as well too, because we've been getting great numbers with physical education at both the CSEC and the offering higher up. And but it shows that there is the need for these subject areas to be enhanced, the TVET areas, and we are quite interested to see the policy of this present government and the Ministry of Education as it relates to TVET. They would have put out in short-term contracts for the employment of assistant teachers or instructors, as they call them, in the TVET areas, which is a good step in going forward. But we are looking for the long-term and the filling of the vacancies that are there so that we can have an enhanced area in these areas. And it will show to me the government and the ministry that these subject areas are heavily relied on some of our students and should be focused on. And we say congratulations to those students as well as the teachers, educators as well.
Indeed. So generally you would say that the results, teachers, everyone within the education ecosystem, they're feeling good about what is what was presented last week with the CSEC and the CAPE?
Generally, you will have satisfaction, and we have always pointed out that these are statistics, and our students are not statistics as such. We are dealing with live, warm bodies as well. And we have to pay attention to those who were not what we deem successful, and I put successful quote unquote, when it comes to these standardized tests. And we want to say to those students, do not give up, do not be daunted, do not let these examinations, don't let them, justify your performance. And so if you have not done well, don't give up, try again. There's the January sitting, which you can access. And if you require at the secondary level to go into tertiary, try again. But check the offerings that are given at some universities, because some do not require A levels as such, the O levels, and some level of experience. And so sometimes we've been programmed in the past. There's a automatic movement from O levels to A levels. That now is not always applicable. And some will be going into the world of work, and we wish you all the best in the world of work, and that you take with you a certain level of work ethic in your job, and your performance and productivity will enhance the nation as well too.
President Lumpkin, sincere thanks, and I'm sure we will touch base soon, because the academic school year is going to open up in literally some weeks. So we will be touching base, I'm quite certain, in the days ahead. All the best to you, and thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Mr. Williams, and your team. Thank you very much.
That's right. Great conversation there with President Martin Lumpkin, president of TUTA. We come back. Data breaches, a very important talking point, and we get a chance to dive a little bit deeper. Data protection here in Trinidad